Hi nerds, I'm happy to show you my comics. I love Marvel Bronze Age in particular, but I just have a lot of comics. These are comics that I just got in that I need to show you, and I need to show you so I can get them into these boxes. So typically I would do every Saturday I would have a video and I'd show you some comics, and I think I gotta accelerate the a little bit so I can get all these comics into there. So I'm going to do it every Saturday and Wednesday. So Saturday will be a little bit more of a mixture. Wednesdays will be more runs. So I just got all the Daredevil, one through all of them. And so I'll show you through those. And I think the plan's going to be Saturdays and Wednesdays, I hope. But, you know, I'm a grown man. I got a life, so I might skip something or whatever. So if you don't want to miss anything, just subscribe and jump through all the hoops that Google has for us in controlling our lives. And then that way you can look at cool comic titles. Today is going to be something a little bigger, and so I'll show you. What? These aren't comic books. These are magazines. But when you start collecting comics, at some point you kind of want to diversify your collection a little bit. It's like, yeah, I got a way. You know, I have runs of just about everything at this point, and so I want to get something a little different. I think people overlook, back in the day, there were as many cool comic magazines as comic books just about. Star Wars Insider is about all that's left. There's not much new in the way of magazines. This is, I think, some of the most current issues of Star Wars Insider. This is one of those exclusives that come from Best Buy, back when those were the thing. You know, magazines have kind of lost their day in our culture. And so there's something about the magazines that are neat. So when I say back in the day, here's where we start to get stuff back in the day. This is the old Ka-Zar, Guns of the Savage Land. Marvel had a graphic novel series where they would produce kind of these one-off graphic novels outside. And I thought they were great. And so when I find these for a good price, I pick them up. Even though they aren't technically comic books, the old comic magazines were great. So this was Blockbuster magazine. This is #1 issue featuring the Inhumans plus an Iron Fist story. First great issue. This is from the 80s. I love the Captain Britain magazines. Now again, 50 pence. It's $1.75 US. A little bigger than a comic book. If you want to have size comparison, it's actually a lot bigger than a comic book. But again, you start collecting enough and you want to diversify a little bit, and so these magazines are something that I really enjoy being able to find. You just don't find them very often, and when you do, they're hard to, you know, get people to part with them. But particularly this Captain Britain. I would love to see Captain Britain in the MCU at some point. I think he's a good character. Speaking of good characters, I think a lot of people remember Conan had the magazine, a Marvel magazine. So again, you could see the trade dress was a little bit like a comic book, but it had the same features of the comic book, a little larger size. Again, on the newsstands, these were desirable because they held up a little better. They weren't as floppy. Newsstands love them. Star-Lord. Who? Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy. Didn't start in the comics. He started in the magazines. Marvel Preview Presents. This is not the first appearance. I think I'm close. That's 14. That's 15. This is 14. So that wasn't the first Star-Lord. I forget what issue it is. You can leave in the comments if you remember. But Star-Lord was introduced in the magazines. Now, he was then introduced in the comics, and what's interesting is his comic appearance is pretty undervalued as a result. Because folks don't know, like, do you count his first appearance in these magazines? Or do you count his first appearance as when he appeared in the comic book size comic proper? Now, I would say, again, I love these old magazines, so I'm a little partial. I'm like, yeah, first appearance magazine, that works. Why can't he have 2 first appearances? And also his first appearance in the comics. So collectors, they'll argue back and forth, but Star-Lord got his start in the magazines. Last one, this is a Neil Adams cover. This is Monsters Unleashed, which was another Marvel monster group, 75 cents. back in the 70s, they loved the horror comics, and this is a Neil Adams. Got a little bit of good girl art on the front, and a mixture of the horror there, the Man-Thing. I thought the Man-Thing was a great character back in the day. Again, I would love to see him in the MCU. So I got a lot of wish lists for the MCU, but these old magazines, if I can find them, I like to get them. It diversifies your collection a little bit, and they're just kind of cool. And the covers are, as you can see, are brilliant. That's a Neil Adams. All right, nerds, that's a short stack today. So, but something a little different. The Marvel magazines, the old school magazines, I like them a lot. I have a stack of heavy metal magazines I just got from a guy, and you know, he was 38 magazines, and I'm like, I don't know what they're worth. How about I give you $50? And he goes, I was going to ask 25. So I got. He was a better seller than I was a buyer, but I got a stack of 38 heavy metal magazines from 50 just because just diversify, and I'm kind of into these magazines lately, and so they're kind of cool. So I wanted to show you a few of the ones that I'm keeping for my personal collection. All right, nerds, you take care.